Hello everyone, my name is Matt and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm showing you a walkthrough of a speaking lesson designed for grade 5, but it could also be used for grade 4 or grade 6, just depends on the level of your students. The focus of the lesson is on daily activities and using the future tense. So we're working toward a dialogue that goes something like this. When will you do your chores? I will do my chores after school at 5:30. This is just an example of one of the dialogues, but there are 6 daily activities I'm going to be presenting in this lesson and 5 different parts of the day: before school, after school, before dinner, after dinner, and before bed. And they also need to be able to use the time and use the future tense of these verbs to make the full dialogue. I really hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. If you do, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and if you want to purchase this lesson, don't forget to go to the video in the link, the link in the video description below, and you can download this lesson in seconds, or you can go to my Taobao store and you can find it there. All right, I really hope you guys enjoy this walkthrough, and let's get straight into it. All right, let's have a look at this PowerPoint. So in the beginning of all my lessons, I like to go through the rules. It's definitely something I'll do for like the first half of the first semester or the whole first semester. It depends on the grade level. For grade 1 and 2, I like to continue to do it in the second semester. For grade 3, 4, and 5, it's up to you. And it's also based on the behavior of your students. If you have classes which are really good, you don't need to do it during the whole second semester after the first few weeks, just to remind them. So it's based on your own discretion. Don't just do it every class just because it's in every PowerPoint. You can delete those slides. I do think that it really depends on your students. Some students need to be reminded, some don't. And if you have classes which are really good, just ask them, what is rule number 1? Call on the student to tell you, and then call on another student to tell you rule number 2, and just to remind them what you expect. Now for the review, obviously you can add in previous material from other classes, but in this lesson, the time is going to be an essential part of the dialogue at the end. So we need to make sure the students remember how to say the time. Now for grade 1 and 2, I teach the simple way, 7:30, 7:45. But in grade 3, I teach the harder way, 7:30. So since this PPT is for grade 5 or maybe grade 4 if they're a bit higher level, or grade 6 if they're a little bit lower level, make sure that they know how to say 7:30 and review it. Even if you think your students know, if you're teaching a large class like I teach, okay, maybe 10 of them know it really well, and then the other 30 or 35 don't remember. So it's good to review, especially for things that are going to be an essential part of the dialogue at the end of the class. Don't assume they remember everything that you taught them or that they learned previously. Review it, okay? It's part of the scaffold. Properly reviewing things which were learned previously is essential, okay? So don't assume they know anything. So it's, a quarter to, a quarter past, and a half past. These are going to be the essential pieces of language they're going to need. These are some of the essential language they're going to need at the end of the lesson. So what I like to do here is you're going to have, well, here's what I'd like to say. If you know you have a long class, the class is an hour or longer, it's a double class, you can bring up 2 students from one team and have them perform this dialogue. If you don't have as much time in your class and you know you might be cutting a little bit close, what I would do is just have the whole class ask what time is it, call on one student from one of the teams. They choose one, so they'll say, oh, it's 9:45, okay? Then you click on it and they get points. Okay, then go to the next team. The whole class asks, what time is it? Or their team can ask, what time is it, really quickly? And then they say 3:30 and they get points. If you have enough time, you can bring 2 students up, but there's going to be a lot of dialogue later in the class, so if you know that bringing them up, having them sit down takes a lot of time, use your own discretion. Don't waste time in class for things you don't need to do. So here we're just, what time is it is not an essential part of this class's language, but the time is, saying the time is. So that's what we're focusing on, not the back and forth of this dialogue. So even if you want to ask as the teacher, what time is it, call on a student from one of the teams, they tell you the time the proper way, 8:45, they get points. That's totally fine, Just make sure you're focusing the lesson on where it should be focused and managing your time properly. That is essential. All right, let's move on. All right, so this is teaching part 1. We're going to be teaching daily activities. This is the topic of the lesson. Since there's a notebook here, it means they should be writing this down in their notebook. Now, what I like to do with all of my levels, grade 1 through 6, is I like to show them a picture and also the phrase or word in their first language so there's no confusion about what meaning the sentence is, and see if they know how to say it, okay? So call on them. I am like a staunch believer this is the best way to do it. Some teachers immediately show both. Okay, they'll just show the first language and the word, and they just assume all the kids. I mean, what I don't like about this is you're not getting a chance to see what they know. And so that if you get to see what they know when you're developing the next week's lesson or the next topic or whatever, you get a better like understanding of what their actual level is. If you're just constantly showing them the answer, you're not getting a chance to see what they know. And also it's sort of like a little bit of a test, like a quiz. You show them something in their first language and you see them all thinking and really trying to remember. And that's what you want. That you want them to be pulling this information from their memory. If they already learned it before, because that's going to like installed in their memory for a longer period of time into the future, and also build confidence. Oh, well, I knew that. Okay, I knew that one, even if they're not the one that raised their hand and said the answer or gave you the answer. Okay, so I think this is essential. And have them write down the notebook and then move on to the next one. Okay, again, show it in the first language, see if they know it, and have them raise their hand, or you can have kids call it out. It's up to you. I like to let them raise their hand. And they tell you what it is. They'll get some wrong answers along the way, which is totally fine. That's part of the learning process. And then they write it down. And here's some examples of these things. Okay? And move on to the next one. So rinse and repeat for all of them. Make sure they write them down in the notebook. None of these are crazy difficult for grade 5, but they're things which, they should remember, they should learn, and a lot of students actually say this stuff wrong. Even kids who speak English quite well sometimes say this stuff wrong. So it's good to, review it with them, okay? And then after here, this is one of the ways I really like to review. I've been doing this for a lot of my grades for the past year. I think it's a really fun way and the kids really like it. So they get to choose one of the new words and say it and then click for points. So call on one of the students from one of the teams. They stand up, they choose one of the things they just learned. They can look in their notebook. Oh, okay, do my homework. Okay, and you click it and they get points. They can choose whatever they want. It's programmed that if you click the question mark box, it will reveal a different amount of points. Okay, a pre-programmed amount of points, which you can change if you purchase this PowerPoint. You can edit anything in this PowerPoint. Everything is editable. Every word, every picture, everything. But these are programmed that if you click this, that box will pop up with those points. You can edit those points if you like. So do it for each team. If you have 4 teams, there'll be 2 left over. You can call in students to tell you, and then either the teacher can collect the points for themselves, or you can have the students rock, scissors, paper for the chance to earn those extra points, which I generally don't do, but you could do that. It's fun, but it might cause some tension in the class because they might think it's not fair, and then all of a sudden they have a huge deficit. So keep that in mind if you are keeping track of points. You want to try to keep the points close if you can. Total domination will make other teams want to give up. So it's best to, I wouldn't say manipulate the class, but choose students in a way or do things in a way to keep the points relatively close. By the end, when there's actually a game, okay, then there's no control because there's going to be bombs and points and die and all that crap. So they're not going to be able to, you're not going to be able to stop them from getting a big lead or whatever, falling behind. But at this point in the class, you probably could. So I would try to keep it close until then. All right, teaching part 2. So in this part, again, we're going to be reviewing something that grade 5 should know, but you need to make sure they do know it, because when you're scaffolding a lesson, it's going to have a lot of language in it. Don't assume they know any of it. You want to make sure they know it, unless you have previously taught them in the past and you're sure they remember it. Definitely review it, show it in their first language, get the students to volunteer, have them write in their notebook, and you'll be surprised. Even kids who are pretty good, they'll sit there and look at that and be like, and they'll forget for a second, how to say it, or they won't be sure. But once, they see it and they see the first language translation, that it's in their brain, they know it. So go through each one, have them volunteer answers, I have a little bit of a cold, and write it in their notebook and move on. Okay, so all of these have to do with before and after different parts of the day. Okay, so before school, after school, before dinner, after dinner, before bed. Okay, so these are just another essential part of this the lesson, the language of this lesson. Okay, and let's move on to teaching part 3. So here we're going to reviewing, since this is a lesson based on the tenses, I just want to review this with them because I want my students to understand the word verb. That's one of my goals, is like when I say verb or noun or these sort of things, that they understand what I'm saying and they understand these these things: present tense, past tense, future tense. I'm not going through present simple, past simple. I'm not going to like complicate it at this point. I just want them to basically know which tense I'm talking about. So when they're using the language, they know what I'm asking for. All right, so again, here, same thing. I would show the first language and see if they remember it. I like to use the word will and not going to, just because it's simpler, and because it's is going to, are going to, am going to. This is just will, and I think it's simpler and it gets the point across, in my opinion, in a very similar way. Okay, so very quickly, for like using will, it's very simple, right? Do, will do. Clean, will clean. Feed, will feed. Take, will take. Brush, will brush. We'll see very quickly, oh, it's very simple. Just add will in front of the verb and you have it, okay? And that's what I want them to see. It's very simple, and it's just a quick review for them at this point, okay? And same thing here. Actually, you'd be surprised about how many students in grade 4 and grade 5 forget how to say this when I show it. Of course, the best students will be like, oh, I know, of course, easy. But then some of the other students, a lot of the other students will be sitting there for a second because they don't actually use this language very often when they're like, they don't use it ever, because a lot of the students in grade 4, 5, and 6 don't really speak much English outside of school, outside of your class. They're just a lot of writing it, and they might not be able to or confidently be able to say these things. So like I said, as with everything, proper scaffold, you want to make sure that everything that you're going to ask them to do at the end of the lesson is part of what you're showing them throughout. So you're building these blocks, building that scaffold up until they can do the entire dialogue at the end. All right, and let's go into the next part. All right, so the next part of the lesson is the dialogue. So this is going to be the full dialogue. Because this lesson is designed for a large class, at least for practicing the dialogue in the beginning, I wanted to set it up so it's just like everything was very big and it was step by step. So there's the first question, you click, it takes you to the next slide. Next question, answer, click, takes you to the next slide. So I just thought it was easier, very visual, and they can walk through the dialogue slowly, because it can be a little bit overwhelming if they come up there and they see all of this language on the board at the same time. They could feel flustered. So I like it simple like this. So bring up 2 students from one of the teams. One student will ask the other student, when will you? And they choose one of the daily activities. Now, that student needs to remember what each one was, right? It's not written anywhere. They can bring their notebook up if they like, but it's not something which is on the board. So again, I want to keep it simple on the board, and also it encourages them to take notes, because they need to have the notebook with them so they can remember. So the student would say, when will you brush your teeth? All right, when will you do your homework? When will you feed your pet? Okay. Again, remember, it's feed my pet, do my homework, brush my teeth, do my chores. But now they have to ask your homework, your teeth, your pet, your chores, your room. Okay, so this is something they're going to have to be able to say on the spot. You'll have kids making that mistake, and you can make a joke about it, and eventually they'll remember to say my and your. Okay, and also all of these things, all of these activities are assuming today. When will you brush your teeth? Today. When will you do your homework? Today. When will you? Today. Okay, that's how it's being assumed. But you'll see in a second that maybe they're referring to tomorrow morning. Okay, so let me show you. So for example, one student will ask, when will you brush your teeth? So you click on brush your teeth, you click on the picture, it takes you to the next slide. The student who is just asked will answer, I will brush my teeth, and all four of these are referring to today. For example, before bed, today. After school, that's today. After dinner, that's today. Before dinner, that's today. This one, before school, is referring to tomorrow because they're at school, right? So before school is referring to the next day before school. That's why it says tomorrow here. Okay, so let's say they say, I will brush my teeth before bed. Okay, so you click on this picture for before bed. Again, this second student is now being asked to recall how to say these things based on the picture. Before school, after school, before bed, right? They can't see it anywhere. So maybe they need to bring their notebook as well up, right? Just to help them, just so they can see it all written down. So let's say they say before bed. Click on before bed, and it takes them to the next slide. Then the first student says, what time will you brush your teeth? Okay, so now they know it's before bed, but what time? And again, now they need to remember, what's this dialogue about? It's about brushing their teeth, right? So what time will you brush your teeth? They say, I will brush my teeth before bed at, now they need to choose a time. Okay, so they choose one of the times. Let's say they say 8:45. You click on 8:45, and there's the points. Okay, there's where they get the points. After that whole thing is done, their team gets 5 points. They go and sit down, bring up 2 students from the next team. You click here, takes them back to the first slide, and the next team will do the dialogue again. They can choose whatever they want. So the first student might say, when will you do your chores? Click here. I will do my chores after school. Click after school. What time will you do your chores? I will do my chores after school at 5:45. Click 5:45. They get 7 points. Okay, that's how it works. And then click here, go bring up the next team. The next team will do the same thing. When will you take a shower? Click take a shower. The student answers, I will take a shower before school. Now this is tomorrow. You can have the kids say before school tomorrow. You can have the kids say after school today, after dinner today. You can add that in if you like, okay? You can do that. Let's say they say before school. What time will you take a shower? Excuse me. What time will you take a shower? They can say have a shower as well. I like to say take a shower because I'm American, but you can say have a shower as well. You know, some people in America say that. In England, you know, people say that. Both are okay. If they want to say that, don't tell them it's wrong. They're both right. So what time will you take a shower? I will take a shower before school at 6:15. I click it and get 5 points, okay? And click here to go back. And one thing I want to show you is, let's say one of the teams says, when will you do your homework? They click here. Well, let's say things were clicked wrong. For example, I wanted to show you. I just clicked it. Let's say they say, when will you do your homework? And you accidentally click here, or they accidentally click here. There's a button here they can just click and go back. That's why I put that button there, so that if it was clicked wrong, there's a back button, okay? They shouldn't need that if everything goes smoothly. They should click on one of these 5 to go to the next slide, right? And then the back button is here after the dialogue is completed. But if mistakes are made or they change their mind, right? One of them says, when will you clean your room? And it's already clicked on. They says, no, clean your room. No. They want to ask brush your teeth because they want to get the points on that one. You can click here to go back, and they can say it the correct way, and then you can click brush your teeth, and then continue with the dialogue, and then get the points, and then click the back button. Okay, that's why I have this back button here on this slide, just in case. I don't want you to, it's happened to me before where I click the wrong thing, and next thing you know, there's no button there, and I need to be clicking back like this. And if there's points involved, like for example, sometimes it'll affect the points here. It shouldn't on this slide. The points should hold there, but if you hit the escape button in the classroom and exit out of the PowerPoint in order to find the correct slide, it will reset these, and that could be a problem. Okay, because you won't remember. You won't remember. I mean, which ones were already clicked on. Some of the students will remember, but you might not remember. So that's why I have the back button on this slide, on this group of slides, just in case you want to go back. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so let's go here to the next part of the lesson. All right, so the next game is bomb, thief, and die game. So in this game, they're going to click mystery boxes, and they might find a bomb, a thief, or the die. If they find the bomb, their team loses 2 points. If they find the thief, they can choose one of the other teams and steal 3 points. If they find the die, they roll the die. Or I have a die app on my phone. I really like that because it's quicker. So I downloaded a die app. You can easily find one. Just go to the app store, whatever app store you use, type in dice or die, and they'll have a bunch of them, and it's just really quickly. They just push it, the die on the screen will roll, and stop, and that's really quick, and you don't have to carry on a dirty die, and it's just much faster. I prefer to use the app on my phone, okay? So here's how it works. Bring up 2 students from one of the teams. One student will choose one of the letters. So let's say they choose L. Click on L. It'll take them to this slide. Then they complete the dialogue that was just completed, right, in the previous activity. When will you do your homework? I will do my homework after school. What time will you do your homework? I will do my homework, and they can add in after school at 4:15, okay, or 4:45, whatever you like, and then they choose one of the boxes. Now, I just want to say, this is harder now, right? Just like I said before, I like to have less stuff on the slide. This slide has both questions on it, right? And there's nothing to help them there, like after school, before bed, after dinner. There's no picture there to remind them, and also with the time, they need to come up with the time on their own. So this is just like another step. It's harder, right? There's more things they need to remember, okay? So it's part of the scaffold. The first part, it was, give it to them, question, answer. This one's showing more, but they should be able to do it at this point. If you follow the scaffold, they should be able to do it. And they choose one of the boxes. They choose one, okay? So let's say they choose the first one. And I like to make them say the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, okay? I want them to say, or they can say first, second, third, fourth. Let's say they choose the third one. Oh, that's a die. So either get a chance to roll the die or the die app on your phone, and that's right. And then they click back, and it goes back. Now, the L should disappear. That's how it's programmed, okay? But in your classroom computer, on your classroom computer, it might not do that. So if it doesn't, just keep track on the board. Write L on the board, so you know that L was already used. The kids, they can click on if it doesn't disappear and you want they choose it again and they go back to that slide. That one box, the third one, will already be revealed. There's 4 there. They can have another chance to click on it. It's not the end of the world, but I think it's better to have them click on another one just because they won't know exactly what question they're going to have to ask and answer. So it just makes it a little bit harder. But that's the only difference. If the L is still there, actually in 2 of my computers in the school, it didn't disappear. So I kept track on the board, and I could have re-clicked on the same one I already used. I could have, but I didn't. Like I said, I like to let them. I don't want them to know what they're going to have to ask. I want it to be kind of like a luck of the draw. Okay, so they come up. The next team comes up. They choose C. They go to C. When will you do your homework? All right, this happens to be homework again, but that's just a coincidence. When will you do your homework? They complete the dialogue. I will do my homework before school. What time will you do your homework? I will do my homework before school at 6:30. They can say, I will do my homework at 6:30. I like to have them say the full thing. I will do my homework before school at 6:30. Totally up to you. They choose the first one. Oh, the bomb! So their team loses 2 points. Okay, they'll be a little bit angry. Those two students will sit down, click the back thing, C disappears. Next team comes up. They choose O. Okay, here, chores. So when will you do your chores? One student asks the other students, I will do my chores before bed. What time will you do your chores? I will do my chores before bed at 9:30. They choose the second one. Ooh, a thief. This means they can choose one of the other teams. If there's only 2 teams, they just automatically steal 3 points from the other team. If there's 3 or 4 teams, they can choose. They can look at the scoreboard. Oh, team 1 is ahead. Let's take some points from team 1. But be careful, team 1 might get revenge in a later round, so be careful. They sit down, click back, call the next team up. They choose G. One student asks the other student, when will you brush your teeth? I will brush my teeth after school or after dinner, whatever. What time will you brush your teeth? I will brush my teeth at 5:45, or I will brush my teeth after dinner at 5:45. They choose the fourth one. Bomb. They lose 2 points. Now you can see I changed them for each one. So some of them have, here there's 3 bombs in 1 die. So, it's luck of the draw. Like you can click randomly and see that I have programmed it so they can't predict what's where. Okay. Here's 2 thieves. 1 bomb and 1 die. Each team, you could play this game until the class ends, but make sure that each team has had an equal amount of chances to play. So it's fair. Look at the time and make sure, okay, is each team going to get 1 go or 2 goes or 3 goes or whatever? And if you don't finish the game, that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. You can actually cut and paste these slides, put them in the next lesson or in a future lesson, and it can be used as a review. Okay, that's what I like to do. If I'd rather have too much as far as games go in a PPT in a class and run out of time, than not have enough and you finish the class early and next thing you know, like you have extra time and there's nothing that you've prepared, and that's a recipe for disaster. So I'd rather have a game which practicing the end dialogue and the class could run out of time, and that's totally fine. But like I said, if you're keeping track of points, or if the game is determining the points that are going to be counted at the end, make sure that each team has an equal amount of chances to go. I play past the bell a lot when I'm playing these games. Like, let's say I start the last round and I realize, okay, there's only 3 minutes left. I'm probably going to run out of time. I make sure, even if the bell rings, the students stay in their seats and we finish the game until the last team has had a chance to go, so it's even. Okay, then I finish the class, count the score, and that's how I do it. Okay, be fair. If you're not fair, the points won't matter. Future classroom management will suffer, and then that's just the way it is. Okay, so before I even count the score, I would show them the homework, because if you count the score first, the class could turn into pandemonium. They're all getting up and out of their seats. Make sure to show their homework first. Let's see the homework first before we count the score, so they're all still sitting down. So the homework is, they're going to have to answer questions, the same questions that we learned in class. So when will you do your homework, or what time will you do your homework? And they will write the answer down. So this is an example, and here you can show them all the questions. So some of them are when, some of them are what time, okay? And it's very clear here. Write and answer some questions. So they need to write the question in their notebook and then write the full answer. Okay, when will you do your homework? I will do my homework after school at 4:30. What time will you do your homework? I will do my homework at 6:30, or I will do my homework before dinner at 6:30. So they need to write the question and the answer, and then in the next class, they have their homework written down in their notebook, and you can, as part of the review, you can put this up there on the board, and you can call on students to stand up and read the question and say the answer, or call two students. One student asks the other student the question. That student looks in their notebook or from their memory, says the answer. And it's a great way to review. Giving them written homework is really important. It really helps them remember. And in the next class, you won't be pulling teeth to get them to remember what they learned in the last class, because they already wrote it down for homework. They were thinking about it at home. They were getting extra practice. So homework is really important for all levels, especially for grades 3, 4, 5, and 6 and up, or whatever, because their ability to write is really good and they can do it quickly. And I know this is a speaking class. I'm focused on speaking, but having them write it down and do the homework will improve their speaking drastically. So I definitely recommend giving homework. I see my kids once a week. I give homework about twice a month. So not every week, but every other week. And at the end of class, I'll collect the homework, check it. I have a spreadsheet where I put down, who did their homework, who didn't. And I'll just give them I'll give them a number. If it's more complicated for this, I'll just check and make sure they did it and give them a check, that they did it. If they make lots of mistakes, I'll give it back to them, ask them to redo it or to correct mistakes, and then give it back to me. So, all right, that's the entire lesson, and I really hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you. All right, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget, if you'd like to teach this lesson yourself, there's a link in the video description below. You just click that link and you can download this lesson in moments, or you can go to my Taobao store and you can find it there. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and leave a question in the comments below if you have anything you'd like to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.